We are lucky to have, once again, Congressman August Pfluger on the phone with us. Good morning, Congressman.
Well, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody in Brownwood and Brown County and the surrounding areas.
Well, a lot of talk. I got some phone calls today from people knowing that you were on the show, and, of course, they wanted to know about the government shutdown. Is there any good news, first of all, any good news about this? Partial shutdown, I should say.
Well, I mean, if we want to consider the fact that there will be agencies like the IRS, like Social Security, like the Veterans Administration, that will remain open and processing benefits and checks and things that our constituents need, then yes, sure, that's a little bit of good news. But at the foundation of this, it's not good news. We as House Republicans 2 weeks ago passed the continuing resolution that would keep the government funded, that would keep the government open for another 6 or 7 weeks while we continued with the normal appropriations process. And we did so because we wanted to avoid this exact situation. We wanted to avoid the date, September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. We knew it was coming. We sent it over to the Senate. And what did Chuck Schumer and his cronies do? They voted it down. They rejected it. And that was well in advance of the deadline, of the September 30th deadline. So for a week, they did nothing. Finally, they went to the White House. They posed a ransom note type hostage situation where they wanted to put millions of illegal aliens back on Medicaid. They wanted to reverse President Trump's DOGE efforts and the government efficiencies where he had saved billions of dollars. And the fact is that this is just not acceptable. We're finally in an era where we can start saving a little money, and that had nothing to do, by the way, with this budget. This budget changed absolutely nothing. It increased nothing. It decreased nothing from what President Biden himself signed into law, what Democrats themselves signed into law and voted on. So, the stalemate is a result of the fact that they don't want President Trump to be able to get a quote-unquote win. If you consider keeping the government open, I mean, this is our job. Republicans have done our job, and we need Democrats to come to their senses.
So basically, the only thing that's changed is the president. This is
right.
This is
the only thing that changed.
Yeah,
nothing besides President Trump being the president changed. That is exactly right. And isn't that sad that this is the petty politics, the theater that's being played?
So they put their, I guess you could say, their hatred for President Trump above what's best for their constituents in their country.
They did. I mean, and this is theater at its worst because, honestly, they're rudderless. We know they're rudderless. That they have no leadership. Their policy is bad, and it just with the fact that they would do this to the military. I mean, the military and government agencies and employees receive their paychecks on the 29th or 30th of September. Just, for work done in the month of September, they received it at the end of the month. So, they, in theory, are good for another 30 days. But if this continues on, they're really jeopardizing hardworking families, especially in the military. It's very, very sad. My office is open. And, in fact, if you go to my homepage, Pfluger.house.gov, that's Pfluger.house.gov, you can find a government resource page that we show you all of the different resources. Hillary Stegemuller is at work. Our offices throughout the district are open. We are ready to help constituents. We are ready to help provide the services that we normally do. So despite the shutdown, we're still coming to work, and we're still going to provide those services. And you'll still get a Social Security check or VA services, and those things will continue on.
We're talking to Congressman August Pfluger. He represents 20 counties in Texas's 11th congressional district. Government shutdown, unfortunately. And if people watch some of these Sunday morning talk shows, and I don't know if people watch those anymore, but the hosts are trying to, they're saying that it's false that that illegals will not receive government assistance anymore. So.
And if I may, you saw Jake Tapper, who's not exactly a conservative.
No.
And he was interviewing Hakeem Jeffries, and he said, but Mr. Jeffries, okay, I understand that you are saying that that's false, but he said, but right here, it does say that Medicaid will be delivered to undocumented migrants. It does actually say that, and Hakeem had no answer for that. I mean, he literally had no answer. So it is true. That's another sad part that the mainstream media, Stephanopoulos, when he interviewed Speaker Mike Johnson, was a completely unfair interview. Didn't talk about any of the facts at all, and really they paint this in such a negative way when it's Democrats who have done this and made a choice not to vote on it.
It is sad watching those talk shows. I shake my head. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's just not. It's a lie, basically. What about the government shutdown affecting military, say, like national parks, air traffic control? How is that affected, or how are those things affected?
Well, again, the Trump administration making a choice that previous Democrat administrations have not made. National parks will remain open. Air traffic control services will be delivered. Our military, this is really the one that I'm most worried about, is that they, they're coming to work. Civilians that are attached to the military probably not coming to work if they're not deemed as essential. But military personnel still doing their jobs. But if this goes, longer than a month, then the military is not going to get a paycheck. I'm part of a bipartisan caucus. It's an organization that gets together, and we're supposed to rise above politics. And I talked to the founder yesterday, and I said, where are our Democrat friends in this caucus? Why are they not standing up and rising above the political theater, especially for our military? And that's really that's the sad part of this. And when you look back at previous administrations, especially Obama, he did close down parks. He did close down some of those services. And it was Republicans at that time in 2013 that did not vote on it, and it was billions and billions, almost trillions of dollars that were being spent that they were mad about. And they knew that this financial cliff was coming. And guess what? We're here. But he made the choice to close those down. President Trump, being the bigger person on this, made the choice to keep them open.
And this government shutdown is coming on the heels of the horrific Charlie Kirk assassination. So at this time, you would think we'd be coming together a little bit more, but the left doesn't seem to want to do that.
That's the sad part, is a wake-up call like that after such a horrific act. A friend of mine, by the way, and you'd expect them to rise above it, and they haven't. And it's this Trump derangement syndrome. They call it TDS.
Oh, it's a real thing.
It is, yeah. And they hate him so bad. And as you and I were talking about before we went live, I mean, if President Trump had the cure for cancer, they'd vote no on it right now. That's where we are as a country. But I'll tell you, that's still not going to deter me from trying to bring Democrats over. I mean, every piece of legislation I've passed this year has been bipartisan. We've reached out. We've gotten support. I'm not talking 2 or 3. I'm talking 30, 40, 50 Democrat votes on important bills. I'm still going to go to Washington, D.C. to represent Brownwood, to represent the greatest district in the country by reaching across and pulling people over. And even if it's one at a time, I hope we can get there. We're not there today. I can tell you that, but hopefully soon we can get there.
We're talking to Congressman August Pfluger here on KOXE 802 right now on a beautiful Football Friday morning. Correct me if I'm wrong on this question, but under the Trump administration, the first time that Donald Trump was president, the U.S. was energy independent, I believe. Are we getting back to that stage now?
You're right. We started exporting crude oil in 2015, and when President Trump became president in the 17 to 20 era, we grew over 12 million barrels a day. We were exporting more than we were importing. We had allies around the world that wanted our energy. We were in a very strong position. President Biden didn't help that at all. And while we still maintain, strong production, a lot of the regulatory environment that Biden introduced has taken a toll. So we're still in a very strong position. I push for that every day, and we want to make sure that we can that we don't have to be dependent on people like Iran and Russia. And you just have to look at Russia's exports over the last couple of years, and that has funded their war and their revenues to invade Ukraine and do the horrific damage that they've done.
we may have talked about this before, but how long will it take to restock the energy reserve that Biden drained?
The SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, it holds 700 million barrels. When Biden took over, it was almost full, close to 700 million. He drained it, half of it, so it's down to about 330, 340 million barrels right now. Thank you for asking that, because as part of that one big beautiful bill, I actually authored the language that started to refill it. We needed those caverns needed to be strengthened and fortified. That takes money to do that, and it also takes money for the government to buy oil. Let me remind people that we filled that up to 700 million barrels at very inexpensive oil, and then Biden drained it when it was in the 80s and 90s a barrel. So, I mean, it's completely opposite, and he did it for a political reason. It's going to take several years to fill it back up, and it's going to be much more expensive than it was the first time. So we're working on it. It's something that my thought is that when prices drop below $60 a barrel, that we need to immediately start purchasing that oil to refill it. And that's the legislation that we're continuing to push for now. But we did put several $billion into refilling the SPR on July 4th.
Outstanding. Talking to Congressman August Pfluger here on KOXE. It is 5 minutes after 8 o'clock. Congressman, I know you're busy, but again, if somebody just kind of tuned in a little bit late to our conversation, government shutdown, people that had questions about the IRS, about the post office, and about their Social Security checks, do give like a Cliff Notes version about how those are right now.
Well, you bet. A shame that we're shut down, but you're still going to receive benefits from Social Security. You're still going to be able to access your health care, and the VA is still open. They're still delivering services to veterans. The IRS is still open and doing, there are some employees that are going to be deemed as non-essential, and maybe they're not coming to work, but for the most part, those services are going to be open. Our offices are open. Hillary is open and ready to assist, and she can be reached at 325-646-1950. That's 646-1950. And also, go to my website, pfluger.house.gov. Especially if you don't get the Pfluger flyby, you can sign up for it, pfluger.house.gov. But we have a resource page on that website right now that shows you a lot of the services. And these questions, it's a shame that we have to ask these questions. I was with a bunch of farmers and ranchers this week looking at crops, talking about, USDA. And unfortunately, some of those USDA services, employees are not at work right now of no fault of their own, but while farmers will still receive the benefits and the payments, some of the new work is going to be halted for a period of time. So we really need Democrats to come to the table to end this madness and this political theater.
How about the military bases, like, Brownwood, Camp Bowie, we got Dias and Abilene, and San Angelo has one as well. Are those going as normal?
Yeah, but, the active duty personnel are still there. Civilian positions, if deemed not essential, will not be working. And unfortunately, advanced training, like at Goodfellow, I can speak to that because I represent it. Intelligence training, language training, where people may be there for 4 to 6 weeks, kind of in a temporary status. They had to go home. How disruptive is that if you're trying to learn Mandarin Chinese or Russian, which they teach in San Angelo? How disruptive to your coursework when you're trying to learn those languages or learn the business. Maybe there's maneuvers that are going on at Camp Bowie that people have had to go home. So while they still may be open, it's very disruptive because it's interrupting the training that they're doing.
Congressman August Pfluger on the phone with us. Love hearing from you, Congressman. Anything else?
Well, we just hope to get past this as quick as possible. It is a beautiful Friday night, going to be a beautiful Friday night in Texas, and we've been watching a lot of Friday Night Lights throughout the season, so rooting for the Brownwood Lions tonight and all the surrounding teams. And despite the madness that goes on in Washington, D.C., I can tell you that I am lucky enough and have the honor to represent the best district, and that's because the people are hardworking, good patriots that believe in family values. It's not like that everywhere. and we're very lucky. And I can tell you that in many places, it is not like this here. So let's thank our lucky stars. I know I'm thanking God that we get to live here in an area that is just above and beyond what most areas will ever experience in the terms of community and family and faith and the ability to come together. So thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, and we're going to get through this. We'll get to the next steps, but thanks for hanging in there with us.
All right, Congressman, we're lucky to have you fighting for us. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. God bless.
All right.